Every soccer argument on earth ends in the same fistfight, Messi or Ronaldo. And if you're an NFL fan, I've got bad news for you. You already had this exact argument. You just called it something else. You called it Brady versus Manning. Same era. Two guys who split the entire sport down the middle. One debate that never, ever dies. One was the artist, one was the machine, and picking between them ended friendships. So here's what we're doing. Messi versus Ronaldo is soccer's Brady versus Manning. I'm gonna hand you the cheat sheet. Who's the Brady? Who's the Manning? And then, unlike every coward video that ends in, they're both amazing, I'm gonna tell you who's actually the GOAT. And I'm gonna do it in plain English. Okay, American. Now, full honesty, because that's the whole deal here. I do not really know soccer. I know the names, Messi, Ronaldo. I know they're the two greatest to ever do it. But if you put a gun to my head and asked me what teams these guys played for, I'd be guessing. I'd be sweating. So I'm not gonna stand up here and pretend I watched every El Clasico for 15 years. I didn't. What I'm gonna do is what every honest American sports fan does when he wanders into an argument he wasn't invited to. I'm gonna figure it out using the only sports I actually understand. And here's the thing nobody tells you. That's not a handicap. That's the cheat code. Because the tools we use to argue Brady versus Manning, they work perfectly on this. You'll see. Okay, first thing you have to understand is why this argument can never get settled. And it's the same reason Brady versus Manning never got settled. It's because they play a team sport. Here's the trap. When you try to crown the greatest quarterback ever, you're not actually measuring the quarterback. You're measuring the quarterback plus his offensive line, plus his receivers, plus his coach, plus whether his defense kept handing him the ball. You can't pull the one guy out of the machine, so you end up comparing apples to oranges and calling it apples to apples. Same exact problem with Messi and Ronaldo. A forward's numbers are a hostage to his teammates, his system, his manager. You'll never get a clean look at just the man. American translation, and this is gonna sound weird coming from a soccer video, but stay with me. The closest thing we've got to a fair GOAT fight in any team sport is baseball. Because for one moment, baseball isolates two human beings, pitcher versus batter. 60 feet, 6 inches, nobody can help either guy. Your ERA is your ERA. That number belongs to one man, not to a roster. And even baseball isn't totally clean, because eras lie to you. There was a pitcher named Bob Gibson who, in 1968, was so absurdly dominant, a 1.12 ERA, an entire season, that Major League Baseball looked at what he was doing and literally lowered the pitching mound the next year to make it fair for the hitters again. So even in the one sport built for a fair fight, they had to come move the furniture. That's how much the situation around a guy bends his numbers. So if you can't separate the man from the team, you do the next best thing. You find the one stat that isolates him as much as a team sport will let you, and I built one. Stay with me, Professor Hats on for 10 seconds. Take a player's goals, add his assists, and divide that by every goal his entire team scored. That gives you one number. How much of his team's whole offense actually ran through him? That's it. That's his ERA. That's the stat that belongs to the man and not the roster. Whoever's got the higher share, more of the offense flowing through one guy, that's your better player. Now, I can hear the argument already. Assists? Who cares about assists? Just count the goals. The GOAT is whoever scores the most. No, and this is the most important 30 seconds of the video, so put the phone down. In the NFL, think about your best wide receiver, your absolute best one. What happens to him every single Sunday? He gets double covered. Two defenders bracket him all game because the other team's entire game plan is, do not let that guy beat us. So what happens to his stats? They go down. Fewer catches, fewer yards. Because he's so good, they're cheating the whole defense toward him. But here's the part casuals miss completely. When those two defenders run with him, somebody else is wide open. He didn't catch the ball, but he's the reason his teammate just walked into the end zone untouched. That's an assist. That's exactly what an assist is in soccer. The best player draws the double team, his own goal count goes down, and he springs everybody else open. So a lower goal number can mean a guy is better, not worse, because the whole defense is built around stopping him. That's why assists count. Count the goals and the doors he opens for everybody else. Alright, we've got the stat. Let's actually run it on these two. And one rule, I'm only using finished numbers, completed seasons, done tournaments, nothing from a game that's being played right now, because those move every day, and I want this to still be true a year from now. Their best single season, peak of their powers. Messi's best season, he was directly involved in 73 goals. Ronaldo's best, 61. Both monsters. For comparison, a great NFL receiver might be involved in 10, 12 touchdowns in a season. These guys were doing 70. But raw goals are the trap, remember? Run the share. adjust for the team around them. At his peak, Messi personally accounted for about 54% of his entire club's offense. Ronaldo, about 52%. I want you to sit with how insane that is for a second. Each of these men, by himself, was responsible for roughly half of everything his whole team did. That's not a star player. That's a guy carrying the franchise on his back like a piano. And look at that gap, 54 to 52. That is not a chasm. That is a coat of paint. That is a photo finish. So then we go to the one stage where the supporting cast matters the least, the World Cup. National team, best on best, the whole planet watching. Messi, at the 2022 World Cup, was involved in 10 of Argentina's goals on the way to winning the whole thing. 7 he scored himself, 3 he set up for somebody else. Scoring and creating, all the way to the trophy. Ronaldo's best World Cup run, he scored 4 goals. 4 and 0 assists, no doors open for teammates, and his team went home early. American translation: that's the difference between the guy who throws for 4 touchdowns and wins the Super Bowl and the guy who has a great individual game and watches the playoffs from his couch. Both impressive. Only one of them is carrying people. Now, you noticed I keep going to involvement and not to, well, how many trophies did each guy win? That's on purpose. Counting the wins is the lazy way, and in soccer specifically, it's a trap. We already covered this on this channel. Soccer is a low-scoring sport, and when a sport is low-scoring, one weird bounce, one fluke, one lucky afternoon flips an entire result. The better team loses all the time. The trophy doesn't always go to the best guy. Sometimes it goes to the guy who caught a break. 1950 World Cup. The United States sends a team of literal part-timers, guys with day jobs, a hearse driver, a dishwasher, a school teacher, up against England, the country that invented the sport. And the Americans win, 1-0. One of the most famous upsets in the history of the game, a bunch of weekend players beating the masters at their own sport. That's the whole point. In soccer, even the giants get mugged on a random Tuesday. So if I crown the GOAT based on who collected the most hardware, I'd be measuring luck and teammates as much as greatness. That's not the man. The wins are noise. The involvement is the signal. Okay, now I have to be honest with you, because if I'm not, this whole thing falls apart, and this is the part those other videos skip. There are 2 ways to map these guys onto Brady and Manning, and they point in opposite directions. Map number 1, the trophy way. Messi is Brady, the most decorated of the 2, more individual top honors than anyone in the history of the sport, and the one who finally won the ultimate prize, the World Cup, the trophy that shut everyone up. Ronaldo is Manning, a relentless, self-made, record-book monster, the all-time leading scorer the men's game has ever produced, whose individual resume is staggering, but the one ultimate trophy stayed just out of reach across his prime. But here's map number 2, the artist way, and it flips everything. Because Messi is the natural, the effortless genius, the guy the game came easy to, who sees passes nobody else on earth sees. That's not Brady, that's Manning, the surgeon, the savant, the football IQ guy who was just built different from birth. And Ronaldo? Ronaldo is the obsessive, the guy who was not handed it, who willed himself into greatness with a self-made body and a work ethic that scared people. The ultimate competitor who outworked the room. That's Brady. So on the artistry versus grind axis, the mapping completely inverts. Messi's the Manning, Ronaldo's the Brady. And that, right there, is why this argument is the best argument in sports. Both maps are true. Depending on whether you worship the trophy or the artistry, either guy is your Brady. That's not a bug. That's the whole reason it never dies. So, after all that, who's actually the GOAT? Here's where I land, and I want to be dead honest about how close it is. This is not number 1 and number 2. It's not first and second. These two are so close together that it's 1A and 1B, co-GOATs. The gap between them is so thin that an argument can be made for either one, and on any given day, either one of them is the better player. I mean that. But you didn't click a video called, "They're both great." I told you I'd give you a verdict, so here it is. I'm going with Messi, by a nose, by a coat of paint. And for one reason, the same reason this whole video used assists instead of just goals. Messi makes the players around him slightly better. He doesn't just score, he lifts everybody else. He opens the doors. That creator's gift, that little bit of everyone on his team got better because he was on it. That's the single hair that splits 2 impossibly close legends. That's it. That's the whole call. Messi, 1A, by the thinnest margin in sports. And if you think I'm a good, that's the best thing that could happen. Tell me why down in the comments. Who's your GOAT, and which one of these guys is the Brady? Let's fight about it.